Good morning and good afternoon from where you may be joining from. I'm Robert Kramer, Global Head of Marketing for the manufacturing industry, and welcome to our Manufacturing Spotlight session, Leading the Shift to Digital and Sustainable Manufacturing with Eric Grohl, Head of Manufacturing and Atos's Chief Operating Officer. You may use the Q&A function to post any questions you may have for us. We will take the time at the end of the session to answer these. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Robert. So again, also as Robert said, good morning for the ones connecting from North America or Americas. Good afternoon for the ones from Europe, and also for the ones connecting from India or Asia Pacific. Good evening or late afternoon. I am Eric Grohl. I lead the manufacturing industry for the Atos Group, and I am also the Chief Operating Officer of the group. In fact, I was, you may say, one of the precursors of that transformation in Atos, reorganizing our company along industries and customers, verticalizing to centralized capabilities, technologies, expertise, to become even more customer obsessed and industry focused. So, talking about our manufacturing industry, uncertainty. The COVID-19 has hurt in the hard way the manufacturing industry, with a lot of production sites shut down or significantly reduced in terms of production capacity, supply chain challenges between logistics and distribution and transportation. In January, in fact, the world trade volumes were expected to grow 2.9%, but now it is expected to decline by minus 11%. Nearly 75% of companies have reported over the past months supply chain disruptions in some capacity due to coronavirus. But this crisis is first and foremost a time of opportunity, an opportunity for growth, to readapt for tomorrow on what would become most likely the new normal. In a recent 500 Fortune survey, 75% of CEOs were in fact believing that the pandemic will lead to an acceleration of technology transformation and digital transformation. Atos is a leading company and is leading companies to rethink in that space even more their model, take the direction towards more standardization and shift to a more flexible cost base and gaining elasticity in the production and in the manufacturing environments. The question is, in this time of huge uncertainty about the economy itself overall, the deglobalization, having workers on site, rapid and unprecedented government interventions, and more, where do we and where do you focus your attention right now, so that this period becomes more an opportunity than a threat? Today, I would like to share some thoughts and ideas about the areas we consider in Atos to be most likely the most three important powerful levers in order to get and master uncertainty. Let me talk a bit about insight. How fast can we or can you recognize the need or opportunity to change? Well, first point, and we strongly believe into that, the first point is about the data. Innovation is a key to meeting new business challenges and above all, anticipating needs and future services to qualify long-term success. But insight must fuel and inform innovation. Being data-driven is becoming mandatory. It is mandatory across all industries and even more in manufacturing. From data collection, preparation, analysis, and then leveraging the appropriate algorithms, machine learning, artificial intelligence approach to improve product design, production, logistics, quality throughout the manufacturing production chain and the logistics associated to it. When you think about insight, it's important, it's really important to get everything lined up. Have your data available at your fingertips and secure. I'll come back to security later. Then it's also about analytics. There's nothing simple about creating the data lake or the data lakes. Identify the key indicators that you have the new opportunity to start better correlating and at the end monetizing. The integration of data analytics and then high-end engineering in R&D can help build these wonderful use cases. Like we have done, for example, in some automotive customer of us in Germany, thanks to our S+C automotive competency center, in Germany, that now we are expanding, in fact, into the other geographies to also serve automotive and other customers of our manufacturing industry in other sub-industries. And of course, then thinking about how to better serve your customers. More than ever, focusing on customers today, their demands, the trends associated to that, in a now fast-changing world, where half of the consumers in our planet today are millennials. Not forgetting to mention the acceleration or the accelerated trend of what we call ultra-personalization. The new consumer experience is using a lot of digital touchpoints to enhance the customer intimacy and to increase at the end user experience. Of course, with the aim to improve retention of customers and generate new revenues. By the way, if you don't have all the skills or resources for this, it's a function easily done by a business partner. In Atos, we're equipped to help you from that dimension. That was about insight. Adaptability is the next one. How do you create an environment that is inherently more adaptable? As Louis Pasteur said, chance favors the prepared minds. To be direct, if your manufacturing ecosystem lacks of a digital focus, your ability to respond to the unexpected is going to be severely impacted. Adaptability is never an accident. It's the second area where we urge our customers to concentrate more, focus more time, more efforts. Can you shift to more automation if you have to work with reduced staff? Can you shift packaging and distribution if routes to market are interrupted? Can you shift your business models if your customers suddenly decide or are forced to change their buying methods? Or if transportation, again, is disrupted towards them? Or if deglobalization suddenly requires a shift to your supply chain? Change process, agility, contingency, and rapid plans are essentials. We support our customers across the value chain in manufacturing, from the product development to the supply chain integration, and throughout the product life cycle in all stages. We understand both sides, both ends, and the entire value chain, and how to make it more adaptable. What happens if you have a highly adaptable value chain? What happens if you don't? Automation with a focus on operations, as well as automating as much as possible people-driven process, as I said earlier, is an absolute necessity. RPA was a tremendous upswing already before the pandemic threatened our workforces. Now it's one of the most single powerful tools available to keep your business operating with reduced staffing and, by the way, increasing quality, consistency, getting scale, and economies. This is also the time to modernize and reinvent manufacturing with smart factories, sensors, connectivity, edge, combined with analytics and AI and machine learning into the shop floor. to improve productivity and quality together. So smart factory is also an agile factory. It's driven by data and software, of course, that will fuel rapid innovation. And this is something, for example, that we have been along the past years, significantly investing into thanks to our alliance and strategic partnership with Siemens. We have been together investing significant R&D money to develop new solutions around IoT in general, around connected platforms, around analytics and the MindSphere solution, and also about now also starting to embed and think about how do we bring security into the objects. As you customers deploy, digitalize your factory, how making sure that digitalization does not create new threats, new exposures into your environment. And this is what we have been investing into, will continue to invest, thanks to our unique security capabilities and cyber security capabilities that allows us now also to work in the world of the object to enhance and enforce the security requirements that will be absolutely mandatory in a world where in manufacturing, according to statistics available, and it's available based on probably declaration of customers, more than half of the customers of the manufacturing sector has been one day or another hacked. So thinking about further digitalizing, transforming, enabling digital transformation into the shop floor is, of course, will go along with a needed absolute necessity to further increase the security and the overall security framework. Smart factories of the future are also instrumental to help and drive decarbonization, because it will drive lower energy consumption and will allow to reduce waste. This means that on one hand, you save money, and in many cases, you turn the waste possibly into a resource. Decarbonization, again and again, and even more than before, is not an option. It's a mandate. At Atos, and our CEO, Elise Girard, announced that 2 weeks ago, we are adapting our energy consumption, but also will go beyond our own consumption and footprint of carbon emission to reach the zero carbon consumption and the carbon neutrality by 2035. This is 15 years ago, or ahead of what the European community has committed to be carbon neutral by 2050. In fact, when we say that, what we mean is that we are going to be not only 15 years ahead of the target date, but when we mean by being carbon neutral is not, as I said, not only Atos, it's our ecosystem of suppliers and customers. And by the way, you will hear soon from us in our new proposals, our new approach to you, that when we're going to take over services for you and operate and run IT services, we will put DLAs in place. A DLA is a decarbonization level agreement, which means, in other words, that we will commit to reduce the carbon footprint, the carbon emission associated to the services going to run by a certain percentage. And if we fail to deliver to that commitment, we will pay the associated investment to compensate or to neutralize the associated carbon footprint. More, beyond the fact that the technology will enable to reduce the carbon footprint, we know also that consumers, we are talking of the weight of consumers in the way personalization is becoming really important, and to drive more revenue, more growth. Consumers are making more and more decisions based on brands and companies that are executing on a green agenda. It's important in the ways they decide to choose one brand versus another, but also for us, but also for you. And I know I've been talking to many CIOs in the manufacturing industry and in other industries. As we shift to agile, as we shift to digital capabilities, the ability to recruit the talents so that they don't go to the Amazon or to the Google of the world is ultra important. And we know that driving that green agenda, that decarbonization agenda is a very strong decision-making factor. And we intend to lead in Atos from that perspective and help you also to lead from that other perspective. And finally, just think about the potential at stake in Europe. Just to execute on the 2050 carbon neutrality agenda, it's about 1 trillion euros of investments that are needed. Massive. Let's talk now about speed. What is it most important than build speed and agility? Because I think both come together into your organization. Well, sometimes we have to recognize that speed determines winners versus losers. The first to market, the first with the right offering, the first to get a new solution and be able to scale with it. Also agile, to realize that a shortage is coming and secure the supply chain accordingly. The first to implement a new customer experience, to meet the desires of and expected needs of the customers. In production, it means to accelerate production time for completion and delivery, to shift to smart factories, as I said earlier, digital twins, to enable more agility again, quality, while reducing labor cost. This is, for example, what we do for one of our automotive customers in Germany, where we enable them to develop and now operate their new connected vehicle solutions, allowing them to update over the night the fleet of vehicles in order every day to give more options, new services, and offer new capabilities to their customers. Again, adaptability, personalization, but also new revenue flows that they can now generate and consider beyond the manufacturing aspects. In distribution, it means also to answer the customer demand for full production fulfillment, to accelerate decision making, optimize and automate the decision tree, improve the governance, internal governance as much as processes. And in IT, it means also a better IT infrastructure to support business processes and scalability. As an example also, in one of our large customers in CPG, we have helped them in their massive data warehouses to deploy smart glasses solutions with assisted reality and integrated voice system to significantly improve the productivity on the warehouse floor, to reduce picking errors, and therefore creating a more effective with higher productivity and higher quality set of activities. It can change your business outlook, your position in the market, your profit margins, of course, your influence on your own suppliers. It's all about speed. Now let me talk about adapting to change. My advice to you and to all of my customers is to invest now to better master uncertainty. We are in new unprecedented times, more than ever. The pandemic has made us realize that we had many more weaknesses than we thought, the way we were operating in our economy. We do think that the keys are, as I said earlier, insight, data, exploiting, monetizing the data, adaptability, mentioned it, and speed. Invest into the future. This is a time to innovate. It's a time to accelerate innovation because, as many CEOs believe in the survey I was mentioning earlier, this is the time to accelerate the change and the digital transformation. What it means for many of our customers, it means accelerating implementation of what I would call the digital foundations. Standardizing. I see so many customers with different IT delivery models, IT architectures, a kind of aggregation of multiple suppliers, vendors that are part of an ecosystem, but that becomes ultra complex to manage when pandemics like the one we just are going through is happening. Standardizing, therefore, automating, like moving to cloud. Really important to accelerate. Also accelerating, as I mentioned earlier, deployment of smart manufacturing, digital twins, and the associated digital capabilities. Also, and I see that more and more with the customers I'm talking with across the past weeks and months, reconsider in-source capabilities versus outsource capabilities. To build a model where you get two things. Number one, you move to as a service model so that you create elasticity in the way you consume when the demand is there and when the demand is not there. And therefore, being able to respond faster, quicker to trend events like we just went through that show how fragile we are in many areas. Second, also reconsidering some kind of legacy assets that exist in your environment. Data centers, legacy infrastructures. It's time to get them out, to take them out of this liability legacy environment that you have to carry. And for example, with Google, which is one of our strategic partners, we propose to customers a data center takeout option. We can take back the data centers, help them invest into migrating the applications to cloud for the ones who can go to the cloud and modernize accordingly. And finally, modernize the remaining part of their legacy infrastructure into a much more modern set of application and infrastructure. Further, securing the IT, protect the R&D and manufacturing know-how. In other words, as American people would say, doubling down on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, as you know, is one of the key strengths we have in this company, in Atos. In the fantastic portfolio we have, one of the key levers we can really help our customers, as I was mentioning with the investments we did with Siemens, we are doing with Siemens to help secure the objects into an IoT ecosystem. We have unique capabilities to help expand your digital transformation while securing your asset, your know-how, your IP. We have more than 5,000 engineers in cybersecurity. We are the number one in Europe in security services, number 3 in the world. And that was before we just announced last week the acquisition of Palladion, which is a US company, which is bringing us another almost 1,000 technologists that will now accelerate, grow our capability by more than 20%, and also add capabilities, tools, expertise, and IP that help us to complement the portfolio we can offer to you. It is our aspiration and ambition to help you execute on that agenda, while of course continuing to operate where we do it for you, enhance and modernize your IT landscapes, infrastructures, as much as applications. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Eric, for your inspiring presentation. We received a few questions, and if we would now like to take the time to answer a few of those.
Okay. And can you voice a question, Robert?
Sure. One of them mentions, what are a few recommended technologies you may suggest, as you talked about decarbonization, to help manufacturers strive towards this deadline or mandate that's coming up in the next 15 years?
So the decarbonization agenda is, of course, important. It's important to get in motion fast. And there are 2 dimensions to it. First, there is, as I said, the carbon footprint existing for any company. So we have developed in Atos, and we have capabilities, practices to help our customers assess their carbon footprint in the IT space and, of course, beyond the IT space. And in the IT space, especially, also to not only assess, but develop and build for them transformation plans, as we did for ourselves, by the way. We started that journey back in 2013, where we decided to be carbon neutral in all of the the consumption we have from an IT perspective applied to us. Which means that And I don't know, I imagine many of you don't know that as you buy services from us, as we, for example, especially host your infrastructure in our data centers, we offset the carbon footprint of our data centers. Of course, that was, by the way, an interesting lever. We make sure that because we have to carry the cost of offsetting the carbon footprint created in our data centers, we have significantly invested to reduce the carbon footprint of our data centers through different techniques. And we can work with you, help you implement similar techniques into your environment. And then, of course, we are planning, in fact, and we're really committed to that, not only to help you assess, deploy, but as I said earlier, thinking of manufacturing and the shop floor and so on. We do believe, and it's proven, that as you deploy and utilize your capabilities, you implement the digital transformation step by step in the factory, to what I was talking about, the smart factories, the sensors, the edge devices, you in fact reducing the consumption of electricity. So you have lower footprint from a carbon perspective. And the more you digitalize, the more you will reduce your carbon footprint. And that's one of the key dimensions. And many of our customers are starting to think about also as a mean, and a very important mean, not only, of course, to be more competitive, as I said, from higher productivity and higher quality as you shift to smart factories, but also driving through that a second very important element of the agenda of any company now, which is reducing the carbon footprint. And that's a fantastic combination that can be executed through one transformation.
Great. We have time for one more question, and this deals with change. And this person says, change is always a difficult process. And as my company plans the future and strategizes, what are the recommended tactics to bridge the gap with the executive team? Because I feel they don't accept change particularly well.
Well, that's you're right. I mean, that's a tricky one. And there's not one single answer, because all of our customers, at first, I of course know many more of my customers beyond manufacturing, right? In the other 5 industries of the group that we have created, I've been in many recurring discussions and debates with my customers about adopting change, forcing versus making it happen in a different way at a different pace. I think, I first think that everything is about change. It's only a question of how quickly you go through change, how quickly you can adapt and digest it. I think also that we are entering now, and I think to some extent the pandemic, the coronavirus crisis, is helping many, not only the consumer world, the nations, and our citizens in the various countries, but also our employees to realize that we're entering a new era. We're entering a new era where digital capabilities are the essence, where ability to work from anywhere, any place, with the same type of capabilities, ability to collaborate, to communicate differently together, real time, not being in an office, not being in a factory, maybe tomorrow. It's also almost a necessity, and therefore I do believe that it will create a different space, a different, I would say, perception of now. Yes, there may be a need for faster change, for more change, and at a different pace than what has been done before. To some extent, I do think it will help my customers internally. I don't think they're going to need to explain the importance of change and the speed. I was talking with speed earlier, within the management chain, right? The leadership teams. I think it's about the adoption of the change and the speed of change into the employee base. And that, I think, will now be accelerated, enabled through the crisis we went through, or we're still going through many places in the world. And that is just opening eyes to many of the, as I said earlier, fragilities that we have in our world, in our companies, in our supply chains, but also in the way we go to market, in the way we sell, and in the way we adapt. So I think it creates a better climate an accelerated climate for change.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Eric, and thank all of you for being in our live session, leading the shift to digital and sustainable manufacturing. The recording will remain online at the Atos Tech Days webpage for your review. Please be sure to join our next manufacturing session, which is additive manufacturing, beginning right after this. Thank you, everyone.